All right, what is up, everybody? This is episode 4 of my USFL head coaching breakdown. Up today is Bart Andrus, as promised. Bart Andrus is obviously the guy leading my new favorite team, the Philadelphia Stars, and I think he's got a few things up his sleeve as far as advantages as to why he will be successful in the USFL as the head coach slash general manager of the Philadelphia Stars. Let's get into his background and discuss why I think he'll be successful. Andrews is basically your quintessential development league coach. He's coached at nearly every level of spring football that you can imagine. Um, he began coaching at the high school level back in 1981. Um, he stayed at that level for 3 seasons before moving to BYU in 1984. He stayed there as a grad assistant for 2 seasons before moving on to the Humboldt State as an offensive coordinator. He served there from the 86 to 89 seasons before moving on to Montana State again as the offensive coordinator. After the 91 season, he was out of coaching for 2 seasons before being hired by Utah as their offensive coordinator, where he stayed 3 seasons as well, from 93 to 95. In 96, he was hired as the head coach of Rocky Mountain and led them to a 6-4 record before being hired in 1997 by his good buddy Jeff Fisher, who is now one of his rival coaches in the USFL. He was hired to serve as an offensive assistant slash quality control coach, and he worked directly with Steve McNair. In 1998, he traded in quality control for quarterbacks coach, and he was um, still serving as an offensive assistant as well, kind of. In 1999, he was strictly focused on quarterbacks, but in 2000, he decided to take a position in the NFL Europe with the Ryan Fire as offensive coordinator slash quarterbacks coach. And he won his very first World Bowl in his very first season with the Ryan Fire in 2000. This led to a jump to Amsterdam in 2001 as the head coach, where he stayed for several seasons despite leading just 2 winning seasons. He won a World Bowl following his 2005 season with Amsterdam as the head coach and returned to the World Bowl in '06, losing to Frankfurt. 4 losing seasons in his tenure as the head coach, all of which he went 4-6. He remained in Amsterdam until 2007 when NFL Europe was shut down. After NFL Europe was shut down, he would return to the Titans staff as an offensive assistant once again. It was short lived as he ended up jumping to the CFL, his first ever experience in the CFL as a head coach of the Toronto Argonauts in 2009. Named the 53rd coach in team history with no previous CFL experience, he had a tall task to fulfill in Toronto. He ultimately would not last long in Toronto, leading a 3-15 season. His first year, he was fired. In 2010, he spent another year out of football. In 2011, he joined, ironically, my favorite UFL team, the Omaha Nighthawks, as the offensive coordinator. In 2012, following the departure of many members of the staff, Andrews was one of the last men standing, and was named to take over as the head coach. He would go 2-2 before the UFL folded mid-season. I think most of the other coaching staff saw the writing on the wall and decided to jump into the college coaching game, and maybe Andrews wasn't hip to what was going on. Um, One of the head coach previously was he had an executive title as well, so I think he had a little bit more knowledge on the financial side of things. So he kind of knew what was coming and jumped out before it was a problem. Following the folding of the UFL, he jumped back into the NFL with the Rams, this time again under Jeff Fisher, while the Rams were still in St. Louis. This was again a short lived chance to coach under Fisher as he once again jumped left for a head coaching position with junior college Feather River. He agreed to take this position on a one-season basis. Despite this fact, he led them to a 2-8 record and would ultimately join the XFL later on. He would ultimately join the XFL to coach Team 9, essentially XFL's version of a league-utilized practice squad. Following the XFL folding in 2020, he joined the Spring League, coaching the Generals. Following this stint in the Spring League, he ended up joining the Canadian college team, the GGs, as their quarterback coach. He served as the quarterback coach during a playoff season, and now he moves on to head coach slash general manager of a Spring League, which is targeting a lot of the same players that the CFL, XFL, and UFL would ultimately have targeted in the past, as well as the NFL Europe. I believe due to this, Andrews has a lot of connections that he ultimately would not have formed had he not coached at this level prior to this. Several of the players that he will be targeting in the USFL player selection meeting, he will have innate knowledge about that the other coaches simply won't have because they were not coaching at the levels that he was in the previous few seasons. His knowledge with the XFL in 2020 in particular will be key because he has been in a league much like the USFL prior to his experience in the USFL now. Um, he actually probably will have dealt with many of the players that are going to be in this selection meeting, which, as I mentioned before, will prove to be an advantage when it comes to draft or selection time. Um, he may know facts about some players that coaches otherwise would miss because he was able to see them firsthand. Um, Collectively, he has a 48-66 record as a head coach, hurt by his time in junior college dramatically, but regardless, it's a losing record. Uh, he clearly is a coach that's there for the teaching aspect and is not afraid to take on a roster that does not have a lot of premier talent, although he is hoping to build one in Philadelphia. Um, he has been in every prominent spring or developmental league outside the AAF formed since 2000. It should be interesting to see how he uses his knowledge to his advantage in 2022. I, for one, am excited to see him as the head coach of my Philadelphia Stars because I think he's going to be a successful coach at this level, and I think his advantages, due to his experience with the developmental leagues, are going to come in clutch when it comes to picking up free agents, drafting, things such as this. Ultimately, I think he's going to be a successful head coach at the USFL level, despite his past at every other level. And really, my only fact to back this up is the fact that he has experience with the level of players that he's going to be selecting. I could prove to be wrong, but I'm optimistic that the 22 season will bring success for Andrews and the Stars. Um, this is all I've got for you guys today. I hope you liked what you had to hear. This is once again episode 4 of my USFL head coaching breakdown. If you don't mind checking out the other 3 on YouTube, I will have the link um, connected to my Twitter account as well as in the signature below on the YouTube account. Um, if you liked what you had to hear, uh, drop a like, comment, subscribe, and pass this along to your friends. I appreciate all the support I get from all of you guys. Thank you and have a great day.